जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिधरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदारयत् नस्तप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, everyone. Just quickly share my screen. So today's verse we have is from Canto 4, chapter 13, verse 26 and 27. We'll try to recite those first. Tam uchir vishmitastatra yajamana vichatah avimsi huyamanani nate grahananti devata. Tamuchurvishmitastatra yajamanamathatvaja avimsi huyamanani nate grahanati devata. Verse 27. Rajan havimse adhustani Shraddhaya saditani te chandam se ayata yamani yojitani drita vrate. Rajan havimse adhusthani Shraddhaya saditani te chandam se ayata yamani Yojitani Dritavite. Anybody would like to recite it? Recite it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam.
And
So let me start, please. Tam uchur vishmitash tatra yajmanam artat ijaha avim shi hui manani nate grinanti devata rajan havim shi adustani shraddhaya ashad shraddhaya ashaditani te chandam shiyayata yamani yajitani dhritabratvi. Hare Krishna.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Tam ujur vishmitastatra yajmanam athartvijaha hobimshi huyamanani note grihnati devataha rajan hobimshi adhushtani shraddhaya shaditani te chandamshi ayato yamani yojitani dhritabhratahi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying. Tamochur Vismita Statra Yayamanam Athar Tijaha Habimsi Huo Manani Nate Grinanti Devataha Rajan Habimsi Adustani Strattayas Oshaditani Te Chandamsi Oyata Yamini Tojitani Drita Bratoi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else would like to try?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am trying.
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
Tamochuri Vishmitastatra Yajamanam Athartvijaha Havimsi Huyamsi Manani Nati Grihnanti Devataha Rajan Havimshi Adushtani Shraddhaya Asaditani Te Chandamsi Ayata Yamani Jojitani Dhrita Bratoi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We'll move on to word translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, you want to try word translation?
Yes, please. Rajan, O King,
Oh,
Avimshi.
from top one, Prabhuji. This is for verse
Oh, okay.
26.
All right. Sorry about
Yes.
Tam unto King Anga, Uchu, said, Vishmita in wonder, Tatra, there, Yajmanam, to the institutor of sacrifice. Atho, then, Rijivi, the priest, Avimshi, offering of the clarified butter, Uya Manani, being offered, no, not, they, Grinanti, except, Devata, the demigod. Somebody else can read the next.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Rajan, O king, Havimshi, sacrificial offerings, Adushtani, not polluted, Shraddhaya, with great faith and care, Asaditani, collected, Te, your, Chandamsi, the mantras, Ayata Yamani, not deficient, Yojitani, properly executed, Hrita Vrataihi, by qualified Brahmanas. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go next by translation, if anybody would like to recite.
I'll try. This is for 27 or 26?
26 is the top one, 26, 27.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care, and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the Brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly. Thank you, Balaji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, I read the purport too. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is a practice of the Brahmanas, conversant with the science, to pronounce a Vedic mantra in the right accent. The combination of the mantra and Sanskrit word must be chanted with the right pronunciation, otherwise shall not be successful. In this age, the Brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. Even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Over to you, Mataji.
ज्ञानातिमृन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदव्यासप्रिय स्वामीति नामिने Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We saw two verses today and two translations. So Sumit Prabhu ji has nicely explained the background of how we are here and what sacrifice is happening here yesterday at yesterday's class. And so today's two verses explains how priests were engaged by King Anga, and everything was being offered, as the first translation says, "O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice. But despite all our efforts, the demigod do not accept." So they are perplexed that we are pure, we are chanting the mantras very nicely, we have used our pure items, then why demigods are not accepting it? And then they go to the king and then mention it to the king. "O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care, and it's not polluted." So, and they are chanting. So the priests are saying, "Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly." So what happened? Why demigods are not accepting it? So the first verse we see here. So what is that most important requirement? So let's answer that question later, that why demigods were not accepting. First question is, in this verse 26 and 27, what is the one most important thing that has been indicated that is required to do a sacrifice like that? It's a question to audience.
Purity, Mataji?
Purity, yes, they have explained that. How would you sum it? I'm looking for that one word, but you're very close.
Faith, maybe?
Faith, yes. Anybody else would like to try?
Three things are needed. The pure brahmanas who knows the mantras properly, and the paraphernalia and the substance needed for that, and also the place where it is to be done, it should be pure as well. And the Yajna Purush has to be invited properly.
Yes, and they were doing everything properly. So I will the answer to this. You are right. You are absolutely right. So that one thing that all this sums up to is the qualification. As we saw in the previous verse, which Prabhuji has explained and Mataji has also explained about the purity, we see that the way purity, because of the purity, we can have pure paraphernalias, and whatever was collected needs to be pure, and that's the purity. As Prabhuji has also mentioned, that chanting needs to be quite properly done. It needs to be pronounced well. So Prabhupada has explained in his verse the two qualifications. So Sanskrit language, and also one needs to be very pure in practical life, but that sums up to, that makes that person qualified. So it's just like they have used the words Yajamana Athardvija. So Yajamana is to the institutor of the sacrifice. So it is the person who initiates the sacrifice. So in this case, that person is King Anga. And Dvija, a person who performs the sacrifice on behalf of the Yajamana. So person who has sponsored the sacrifice, and priest is the person who performs the sacrifice. And they both needs to be pure. So purity is the one of the topmost qualification that is required here. And in this case, priests were pure. But the answer is that Yajman, King Anga, was pure. In this life, he was also pure. He was spotless. So the issue that the reason the demigods were not accepting is because of his past sinful activities that was stopping demigod to accept these offerings to them. And we also see that to do sacrifices like this, it requires everything to be perfect, that you need to be very expert at rules and regulations. You need to know the right pronunciation of the mantras, and everything has to be pronounced and recited in a sequence. And if there is any mistake, it won't be accepted. So there's a lot needed. And plus you need purity in this life, and from your previous life should have not much sins. So that's why, because King Anga has done some impious activities in his previous life, in turn, demigods were not accepting the offering. So that disqualified him. So when we talk about qualification, they both need to be qualified. The priest need to be qualified, and the Yajman needs to be qualified as well. But Prabhupada explains that in the case of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we don't need this. We don't need lots of purity. We can chant anytime, anywhere. And we don't need qualification to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And that purifies us. So we'll look at the next verse, as we saw here, that there is no disqualification for chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And this is the great benefit of chanting this mantra, which is for this very day and age. So that's what we see in the next verse, the mantras, and it needs to be properly executed by qualified brahmanas for previous ages to do the sacrifice. But for Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is higher than all the sacrifices, it requires no qualification. So let's look at some of the other things that in olden days, when people used to offer sacrifices, people had the great qualification to invoke demigod, and they would manifest in front of the priest. So not like today, even if you do, you won't see demigod yourself, but they used to be present, and then they come and offer the sacrifice. And we saw that this is what Prabhupada has mentioned in his purport. So we'll repeat that again, that in this age, the Brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. So even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect. The next one, there's also a very nice explanation from Narada Pancharatra, which is translated by Srila Prabhupada. In that, this was I found this very interesting, so I thought I'll share it. The essence of all Vedic knowledge comprehending the three kinds of Vedic activities, Karma Kanda, Dhyana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda, the chandas or Vedic hymns, and the processes for satisfying the demigod is included in the 8 syllables, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This is the reality of all Vedanta. The chanting of the holy name is the only means to cross the ocean of nuisance. We'll see a few benefits of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Mantro guhya paramo bhakti vedaya. It's from Sri Chaitanya Upanishad Atharva Veda. The Mahamantra is the topmost and most confidential of all mantras. It can only be understood when one engages in the pure devotional service of the Supreme Lord. And then those who seriously desire to make progress in spiritual life should continuously chant these 16 beautiful names, Mahamantra of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this way, they will cross beyond the bondage of the illusory energy in this material world. There is no other mantra which is as powerful as this supremely great and most confidential of all mantras, which has directly descended from the spiritual world. That's how powerful this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is. And in the Agni Purana, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as preached by Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Whoever chants this mantra, even neglectfully, will attain the supreme goal of life. Of this, there is no doubt. And in Padma Purana, Soyakanda is mentioned, all the grievous sins of one who one-pointedly worships Lord Sri Hari, the Lord of all the demigods and devotees, and chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra are removed. All the sins are removed. So look at the contrast between the sacrifice performed by the priests at this time for King Anga, and they were chanting all the Vedic mantras very nicely with lots of purity, but they could not, at that moment, King's previous sinful activities or the reactions was not removed. So the sacrifice was not successful because of his past sinful reaction. Whereas if one chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then not only our past sinful reaction is removed, which is a barrier to the progress of our spiritual life or any sacrificial offerings that we do, but it also removes the sinful tendencies. So from the root, we are cleansed. It's a cleansing process. So when we start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, it cleans our heart. Just like we use a broom to clean our room, clean the floor. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra is that can clear everything, all the impurities in our heart. We are cleansed. It cleans the sin as well as all these sinful tendencies. So that's how powerful Hare Krishna Mahamantra is. And we all know about this. You all must already know about this. sharing. So let's discuss some stories, because but before that, we'll also discuss the main process which is established here. So the main process for this age is chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And in the age of Kali, people who are endued with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associate by performance of Sankirtana Yajna. And other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literature are not easy to perform in this age of Kali. But the Sankirtan yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, and it is recommended in Bhagavad Gita 9.14. And in this age, no one is expected to be highly qualified or educated in the Vedic ways of understanding, because so there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says this, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Because people are very slow, they are lazy, unfortunate. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has recommended the sound vibration of Hare Krishna, and it is recommended that Yajnaya Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Te Sumedasha. So of those who are intelligent, what do? They do praya, means mostly, this is the chief process. So mostly we try to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, even if we are doing other things, like we are worshipping the deities in the temple, we are cleansing the pots for the Lord, or we are preparing bhoga, we can still chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and we can still chant Vaishnava bhajans, and all of that will intensify our devotion. And it's also, this is a very popular one, everybody knows about, is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Kevalam, Kevalam, Kalau Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Gatir Anyatha. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So when we want to emphasize a point, we might repeat it 2-3 times, and it's repeated in this verse. Similarly, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one advances perfectly in spiritual life. So one may think, I mean, we all have that faith, but these are written in scriptures. And so from our own experience and realization, you must have also experienced the benefit of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the power of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that how it must have transformed you. I remember when I started this process, it started with chanting. And from then and now, continue with the continuous chanting, things have evolved. Things have evolved. The spiritual life becomes so important. And how that all happens? Because Hare Krishna Maha Mantra works. It purifies, it cleanses the heart. So we think about our spiritual advancement more. There's one story of a lady who, so once they're going outside with her husband. She was going outside on a side, and for some reason something happened, and she was outside, but her husband started drowning. And she was panicking. She wanted to save her husband. So out of all of that anxiety of that moment, that how do I save someone's life? So she was thinking, how do she save her husband's life? She even took away her sari and put the sari as a support to her husband, but she still couldn't save her drowning husband, and he died. The screams of him drowning was a torture for her for almost many years. She couldn't sleep for many years. And one day in temple, she heard in the lecture that how powerful the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is. And she then went to the Prabhuji and said, Prabhuji, is it really that powerful? Will it work? Will it give me peace and the solace? And Prabhuji said, why don't you try it? And then she went to the temple shop, got the beads, and chanted 16 rounds that day. And the next day she comes and thanks the Prabhuji, saying, thank you so much for guiding me. Because he said it was the first time in past so many years that she could find peace and solace, and she could sleep that night. So that is the power of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then let's look at some other examples. So Prabhupada says that when we are chanting Hare Krishna, even if we don't know the meaning of it, but because it is transcendental, it is auspicious, wherever we chant Hare Krishna, others may hear or not hear, it is auspicious. So there was once an example of Prabhupada disciple. He was asking all disciples to go and preach. So one of the disciple couple, they went to a village in India, and the village had drought. There was no rain from long time. So people were starving and they were suffering. So this devotee couple, they were holding programs. They did kirtan and then the lecture and then the prasadam. But everybody used to just come at the prasadam time. So these devotee couple, they got, so the Prabhuji finally got frustrated that nobody comes for the whole program. How will it benefit them? They come only for the last part of the program, which is prasadam. So he said to them that this is why it is not raining here. This is why you all are suffering. You are starving and there is no food grains here. If you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you hear the kirtan, then the rain will come. And the leader, it went to the ears of the leader, and the leader of the village came to see that disciple, Prabhupada's disciple. And he said, what you are saying, if it really will happen, then the entire village will join you for kirtan tomorrow. Then at the same time he mentioned, but in case if it doesn't rain, in spite of your chanting or your kirtan, then they will all kill you. And he had a little daughter and a wife. In that situation, people would be compelled, oh, let's leave. Why to take risk like that? But his faith in the Mahamantra was so intense that they stayed. They organized for the kirtan. And then the kirtan was performed. Everybody started chanting, singing. And then they could see the cloud. And then at the end of it, it rained. It really rained. So we may see all this in scriptures, but it also happens in reality. In similar occasion, Prabhupada was called by Andhra Pradesh government once that people were starving because of drought. And he said he will chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and serve prasad. And with his chanting, the rain came as well. So we see all this. And there was one lecture of Prabhupada which I was hearing on Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he mentioned, so I'll repeat what he has mentioned in his lecture. He mentioned that for Harinam, he mentioned that we are sending our men for street Sankirtan. It doesn't matter people are eager to hear it or not, but it is auspicious. It will create an atmosphere which is very, very congenial to the human society. That should be our principle. Not that because we are chanting, nobody is taking care. We shall not be disappointed. This Sankirtan movement is so nice that simply by chanting, the vibrations will create an atmosphere, auspicious atmosphere. So he explains that by chanting, so many people at New York joined him. He said once he was chanting Hare Krishna for 3 hours. As he said, in the beginning time, he was only chanting or performed Sankirtan. There was no lecture or prasad distribution in the early days of his programs. It was only chanting. And people became devotees. So we should always be confident that this chanting is not a vibration of this material world. It is from the spiritual world. There is a quotation with Narottam Das Thakur says, Golokera prema dhana harinam sankirtana. It is imported from the spiritual world. So it is the most important jewel that we have, and we must nourish ourselves by trying our best to attentively chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Some of you who are doing preaching programs or who have attended preaching programs would also can relate to it, that how people transform just by hearing this transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And initially they just come and listen to Kirtan or they start chanting, and it slowly transforms their life. So we should make use of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as this is the main process for this day and age. Thank you. If anybody has any question or comments.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Danvatana.
Yeah, from the beginning, the atmosphere was created by your singing. It was so intoxicating. I was just listening and listening so carefully. The environment was so purified. And that's what happens when you do the Sankirtan in the right mood. So with the association, it makes the situation so wonderful. And on the explanation of 26, 27, you explained the things so nicely. Yeah, you explained the importance. That's the sacrifice which was supposed to be done during the age of this Satyajug is not beneficial this age because of so many reasons, as you explained. We are not qualified of this because in this age of Kali, there are so many laggings. But in spite, Prabhupada instructed or through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction that the Harinam Sankirtan is the only way to proceed to this spiritual life. And this mantra shows, and we all experienced right from the beginning of our starting, that how it powerfully influences us slowly and steadily. And by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we have come to the stage today. We feel it and we can distribute the same thing to the followers of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As we do it in our preaching program, we see that, yes, it's practically happening. People come very big in the very beginning, they don't have any taste, but by slowly joining the program day after day, week after week, month after month, it really happens. So that's the practical experience that Prabhupada has given us, and it is working very efficiently. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your kind words.
Thank you, Mataji, for such a nice exposition on the importance of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thank you for all the quotations from the various Puranas and Upanishads. So very nice. So I was just thinking of one thing. So you're also saying this other process, it requires so much of Sanskrit knowledge and so much of paraphernalia, there's other normal Vedic sacrifices, and it's much more complex. In contrast, this is much more simpler, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I was just thinking, because sometimes the people, they think, oh, this process is more complex. That is, it has got a lot of things to do, a lot of items to collect, and a lot of things, like you require a lot of people to do that. So they think that is more powerful. And they think this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, oh, it is just chanting. What is there? Nothing. You're just sitting and chanting. So it's looks to be very simple. So how can it be very powerful? So like, just wanted to inquire with you, any ideas to counter such perceptions? You know, because people think something is more complex means they think it is more important or more powerful. So just wanted to check with you, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, just to add on Poshak Madhav Prabhu's question, we see that even devotees, they do perform sacrifice, fire sacrifice, maybe in a housewarming ceremony or any other ceremony, they do fire sacrifices. So how do we reconcile that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the mantra for this age, and it is the topmost than the sacrifices which are still going on? So yes, just wanted to know that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you. Wonderful questions. I'm not sure if I can answer properly, but I'll try. If anybody would like to add later on, please add it. First thing is, our mind likes complicated things. We don't want to do simple things. Even a toddler, I have got a 2-year-old toddler. If I tell him that just try it like this, it will be easier for you. No, he wants to do all sort of complicated things to play with a toy or a toy car, then just using a simple process of learning how to drive that car. So our mind is like that. We think that the more complex it is, we have accomplished something. The more simple it is, we don't value it. So there is how we can do this as an example, how we explain it. The first is the example there itself. How many people have transformed by doing fire sacrifice in this day and age? We do. Lots of people do fire sacrifice at their home, and it's good. It's good for the feeling wise. You know, there is smoke, there is, and it actually creates a mode of goodness in the house. not denying that. And it is good. It is good for housewarming activities. But if you see, it is only limited to that. People are not doing fire sacrifice on a daily basis for their spiritual advancement. But people are chanting on a daily basis, and you can chant on a daily basis and also improve much faster than performing all the fire sacrifices. Even though people want to do all those complicated stuffs, they will probably not find that much time to do that every day, because any sort of practice should be done regularly to achieve. We need to practice it. It can't be just once a year we have done it. So that's my explanation, that if anybody says that, oh, they think that fire sacrifice is the only way, then can they do that every day from their work wise? Would they have enough time to get all the samagris and sit down, chant all those mantras, pronounce it correctly? Would the demigod also appear? Because the correct process is that the demigod appear and you see the demigod in front of you and they accept the offering. If that is not happening, then that is a half fire sacrifice. But here in the chanting, we see so many people have transformed. People have changed their eating habits. They have done so much. There are many people who had the habit of intoxication. They have left intoxication. So people have transformed just by chanting. You won't find any example where people transforms like this just by performing fire sacrifice in this day and age. And if anybody would like to add anything, please add.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji, adding to that, actually is a question of mindset, as you are explaining. Is because we are habituated for a long time that the complication makes her more happy. And the other thing, we don't do it. It is done by somebody else. So we shoulder the responsibility to somebody, thinking that things will go in their right way. But it doesn't. Only by Hare Krishna Mahamantra, everything can be performed. It is the top-notch mantra which can drive away all the sins. Yeah, so it is a question of mindset. So we need to change our mindset, and we can get the effect with immediate action. So that is what actually happening. Since it is a long way right from the Satyajug, the things are happening. So we are accustomed, and the parampara is also like that. So for that, we need to read the Shastra, and Shastra will guide us what is the best among this for us to get immediate result. So that is what I have to say about it. It is a question of mindset only. Thank you. And other things, housewarming, by doing the sacrifice, of course it warms the house. But does the person attending, that's really on that space? No, the mind must be somewhere else. So if we look at that way, actually the performer is getting the advantage, not the people surrounding. But by doing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, uttering the same mantra by everyone, the whole thing gets vibrated and everybody gets the benefit. So if we look at that, it is an social reforming rather than individual reforming. So it is more effective than any other performance. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I just like to add one katha or episode I heard from His Holiness Bhanuswami. He was saying when they established Hare Krishna deities in Tirupati, they invited the big panditas and from the Tirupati temple to the installation. There was a very elaborate installation because these Pandits are very well versed in this. But at the same time, there was very nice kirtan going on. And the kirtan was very aesthetic. So end of the installation, one of the acharyas of the head of the Panditas, he came forward and told Bhanu Swami, he says, our performance ritual is okay, but the deity was really installed by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. He said that is more important. Ritual is like secondary. So what we can see from here, that the rituals are there from, is a remnant from the Vedic ages, still being carried forward. But the chanting is the one that really purifies and really help in the deity installation, because creates very wonderful mood for everyone. The Panditas are chanting, this big fire sacrifice going on. Yeah, that does create some like sattvic environment, but the main transformation is by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So it's very instructive that big Panditas from the Tirupati temple, they also admitted the actual installation was done by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is very instructive. Thank you. I'd just like to share this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice story.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, so nice explanation. And also, we see at the temple also there is Narsingha Yagna taking place every year, and all of us participate in that Yagna. So when the the fire sacrifices are done by the devotees, the pujaris of the ISKCON temple, they invoke all the acharyas and all Krishna and the parampara, all of them, Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all of them are pronounced, and then the swaha is told, and then we give those ingredients in the fire. So is it not that, when the sacrifice, such type of sacrifice is done in the temple, then, all it is done for the Lord actually, and everybody is getting that benefit. Because we are putting those ingredients in the fire. So the sacrifice which is happening at the ISKCON is totally different from the sacrifices which are done by the Karma Kanda people. That's sure. So the Karma Kanda people, they do it for a different motive. They do to the demigods, whereas the sacrifices which is done at the ISKCON temple, we are actually doing it for the Lord. So which is actually bona fide, because it is coming in the parampara. I mean, we are giving those sacrifices to the whole lineage till Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. And yeah, very wonderful point you have mentioned, that when we do it, or when the ISKCON devotees do these yajna, they have a powerful tool. They have the powerful tool of the Hare Krishna mantra. So that is also chanted along. And when we do the Narasimha mantras and the Kavacha that is chanted is also very powerful. So
Yes.
it is the power of those mantras that accompanies it with the yagnas.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, the other point just came in my mind. When you do the yagna, the demigods come in. They accept this. But here, when you do the Hare Krishna mantra, it goes directly through parampara to Krishna. So it's a direct connection rather than indirect connection.
Yes.
So it is much more powerful.
Yes.
So therefore, it can also be said that the sacrifices which are done by the ISKCON Purohits, pujaris, it is bona fide because we are doing it for the Lord, and at the end, it is also, the Kirtan is also there, and the Maha Mantra is also there. So this is what I get from the class.
Yes, Mataji. That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna, we just about having finished about the time. Anybody else have any reflection or comments to share? Okay, it doesn't seem to be. So we'll end the class here. I'd like to thank Her Grace Ananglata Mataji for this wonderful class this morning, coming forward early morning, giving this illumination of these two verses. Thank you, Mataji. Her Grace Ananglata Mataji ki jai, Shri Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakti ki jai. Panchakalpatarubhescha
Ananta
Hare Krishna, Ananglata Devi, Dasi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And please forgive me if I said something wrong.